Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you are watching as I'm going live slightly earlier than 6 o'clock, just so that I can double check in on everything and make sure that the system is working. And it looks like it. Lets me get rid of the sound on there. And then hopefully in a minute we will be able to see what's going on as people come in. If you can let me know that you're here. Let me just swap to let's swap to add that to the stream, and then we move that one, and then there we are. We can start there. That's always a good starting place. Sorry about the cameras and things, but we've had a little bit of a move around to accommodate other bits and pieces, and we'll swap out of this mode fairly soon. So I haven't got my Pentacolor jumper on today because it's Christmas, and I don't do silly hats, but I did manage to find a suitable sweatshirt, which is really important in my craft room at the moment. So we're going to let me swap to there, and then we can add that to stream. Hey, I like it when a plan comes together. Hi Elizabeth, hi Blanche, hi Gail, thank you for joining us this evening. We have I'm going to be decorating a tree. Now these trees started out, she says, like this. And they just came from a cheap store in the UK, and I thought that they would be perfect for altering. And I've had a little play, and I've done this one previously. So we've got all sorts of mould at the top. And this one we're going to do very differently, but the same sort of process for that. And it's still just before 6 o'clock, so we should behave and just let everyone else come in whilst we wait patiently. I have a heater on next to me, so if you can hear a strange sound, it's that, because my craft room cooks in the summer and then it freezes in the winter. So there we are. Cool. Hi Rosa, thank you for joining us. Hi Sheila, thank you. We're just about 6 o'clock now, so let me just tuck that one out of harm's way. So I started out with my multicolour tree that I really didn't like, and took off the ribbon, knowing that, picked off as much of the glue as I could, but knew that wasn't going to be a problem. And then I have given it all a good coating with bonding primer, because it had a plasticized surface, and I felt that that was what was needed to allow me to get the next layers to adhere nicely, if that sort of makes sense to everyone. So that's where we're up to. So that's the only bit I've done off camera, and we'll have a little bit of yo-yoing back and forth. And I know that I'm going to add lots of these. Blanche, it's absolutely my all-time favourite camera. So we're going to do a winter tree with lots of snowflakes today, because that's just what I feel like doing as much as anything else. Let me find a reasonable looking paintbrush. And so I have, and then we're going to add some crackle over the top. So for my base layer, I am using the Dekoratőr paint chalky in pine green, and I'm just going to add a layer of this everywhere. It won't really matter if it's not completely covered, nor will it matter if it's completely even, because we're going to be adding crackle over the top anyway. So as I say, it doesn't really matter. So just, oops, sorry if I made anyone feel sick by bumping the camera, but that's the plan. This is the plan, is to add used a couple of different types of crackle on this, and obviously I will do the front and the back, but we'll need a little bit of drying in the meantime, and possibly 2 layers, because some of the darker chalky paints I find sometimes just really do need 2 layers to get really good coverage. But as I say, it's not too great an issue because I'm going to be adding extra layers anyway with the crackle mediums and the like. And of course, when you're doing something like this, you've got all sorts of strange angles to cover. I like this green. It's described as pine green, and it's definitely a green, but it's got a blue, very blue undertone, rather than a very yellow undertone. And I think that's probably why I like it as one of my go-to colours. So there we are. I'm going to say one of the headaches with doing a dimensional project is you end up with lots of different areas to cover, and lots of moving about. So that's where we're up to. We'll just carry on with this, adding things onto it, building out our layers, and we'll do some drying live because we have no choice but to do that with this as a type of as a project, but that's just fine. As I say, and I don't really want to have bluey, sticky, yucky, mucky fingers tonight, so we all do them as we go because it's easier to do that as we go and not have too much mess around the place. I'm not good at not creating a mess, but hey ho, there we are. So I hope everyone is well and enjoying their preparations for Christmas. It's 19 days away or something daft like that. That wasn't my strong point at school, but there we are. So I think we're probably all in Christmas making mode, almost certainly. I know that tonight it's a bit of a headache because Samperia, bless them, have had an all-day marathon. So I suspect that we will have lots of people not watching that might normally watch because they are in the middle of watching the Samperia live tonight. But there you go, that's such is life. And of course, this is available on YouTube, and it's here in this group permanently, so people can catch up whenever they feel that they are free to do so. So yeah, it's good. If anyone else has anything they want to add in, please feel free to comment, make any suggestions of things, or any that they want to share, or any questions they want to ask about what we're doing. I'm just giving this a quick dry so I can turn it over and paint the other side without making a mucky mess of everything. So, yeah, hopefully. No, it's not quite dry. So patience is not my virtue, best strength. And really, when you're doing a live, you just need to accept that you have to take some time to dry products when you're working, because they just take time to dry, and sometimes you just cannot move on. Have you been altering your heat gun, Gail? I took my very old heat gun on to Create and Craft in the UK a few months ago, and it was interestingly decorated, shall we say, and probably pretty much on its last legs. And the helpful presenter that I was on with made some comments about it being very messy and perhaps I needed a new one. So I took that as a hint, got myself a new one, and I might just as well not have bothered really, because within a few weeks of having it, it's covered in all sorts, you know, because that's the way I rock really when it comes to paint. I'm not precious about my stuff, and I clearly had have had it too near whatever I was working on, particularly when I was adding splatters to things, which I'm very want to do on lots of projects, is add splatters. So yeah, let's get rid of that, and then we'll give that another dry. So yeah, it's got, what's it got? It's got lots of paint splatters, and I've also had an awful lot of the coloured foils out on my desk, and the heat gun must have been sticky, because it's definitely got lots of the colour foils added to it, just to add to the fun of things. It's definitely well loved. So I'm sorry about that binging. I've silenced one thing, I clearly didn't silence something else, so that's not very helpful of me. I do apologise. And if I fiddle now, my bet is I will mess things up and stop the live, because I think lots of us have had issues over the last few weeks with being thrown out of things when we're part way through doing things. Hang on a minute, let me just see if I can get that one, that's switched off. That's my boss messaging me for there we are, that will stop that, for my boss for actually being on air at creating craft. But hey ho, there we are. So I shall deal with some of those other bits. So let's turn this over. It's always difficult to know how much prep to do ahead of a live. I could have, I guess, painted some of this already, but then, you know, that sort of defeats the purpose of doing a whole project from start to finish, doesn't it? If I've, you know, then promptly done part of the prep first. The only thing I would always do is the bonding primer, because it really takes a little bit of time to dry solidly, and it's better left to dry naturally. So that's why that bit was done. And there's only so much drying of things anyone can cope with, I think, on the middle of a live. So we'll go for the essentials rather than the luxury items, I think. There we are. So cool. It's throwing it down here first, like I'm doing the hokey cokey with Facebook. Yeah, it's absolutely a pain. To be fair, actually, in Manchester at the moment, apart from being bitterly cold, it was -1 this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Northwind. Actually, it's not chucking it down, and that's probably just as well, because we all know when it chucks it down, it sounds like I'm in a tumble dryer, really, doesn't it, with all the noise that happens. There we are. So we'll give that a little bit of a dry and add an extra coat to this. And it actually hasn't rained here at all today. It's just been quite cold. I was a very well behaved child. I went to the gym this morning, and I did an aerobic class, and I have to say that I've been behaving since September, and I've dropped several dress sizes, so that's cool. Really cool, in fact, to have dropped them that, and I feel so much better for it. So yeah, let's just get this dried as much as we can, and we'll even up the coating. And then we will add a different colour to the base, because I want a different colour as the primer for the base. and I want different primers for both the 2 different types of crackle. So, do I set myself a challenge? Of course. Why wouldn't you set yourself a challenge? Yeah, there we are. But that's just part of life. There we are. And you could paint thinner layers on this, that is for sure. But actually, I'm quite happy because trees have texture. And that's sort of what I want, is to have some texture on my finished piece. I don't want it to be completely flat. Thank you, Sheila. I generally don't like getting hot and sweaty, so a swimming pool is a sensible place for me. There we are. We've missed a piece there. Let's just pick up the edge. Oh, sorry, ladies, if that's made you go seasick, because that wasn't quite the intention. There we are. We'll go for reasonably even coverage. Now, get rid of all that's obviously white. Hey. Because what's underneath it will show through the crackles ultimately, so that's cool. There we are. Right, that's us. We've managed to miss a bit under there. You can see white, can't you? With whatever you do, it just pokes its way through. And whenever you're painting, you always miss areas, I find, of when you're trying to cover something completely. And then you see it when you go back a second time round. So let's jump that into there. Thank you. It's a beautiful green. I have to say, I like the pine green very, very much. It's a nice bluey green. And a natural colour. Hi, Anja, thank you. Thank you very much for liking and sharing. And of course, we're all busy, particularly at this time of the year. It's just nice that you could come, even if it is only for a short time, to see what we're up to. We're decorating a tree, and it's going to be a winter-themed tree. I've just got a wooden decoration from one of the cheap stores in the UK. Which I keep a lookout for things that I can alter, because otherwise it becomes, we can't always get the MDF that's available and shapes that are available, and I don't have a laser cutter, nor do I have space to look after one. So getting pre-done bases and then altering them is a good way forward, and actually, to be fair, probably quite a cost-effective way of working forward and going forward. So hopefully that bit was there. So that is the base cut there of that. Let me lid that before we make a mess of it. And then let us add something to the base of our piece. For this one, I have chosen Cardinal Red, which is another Decor Paint chalky colour. So we're going to add that, and it will hopefully cover over the mucky green that we've got, because I don't want it. And as I say, these are under layers, because this is not the intended final colour. These are going to show through cracks long term. So there we are. Let me just pop that onto there. This is another beautiful, rich colour. So if I pop that, and hopefully that is reasonably dry, and I won't end up with too mucky a set of hands, because that's not what we want long term. There we are. So that red is covering beautifully. Let's turn that around a bit more. And let's move back into camera. Please feel free to shout at me on, if you can't see what I'm doing, and ask any questions about what I'm doing that you want to ask. you know, the whole purpose is, of doing the lives is to help people, to hopefully inspire people, to show you how to use different products, and to get your crafty stuff out of its bottles and onto projects. There's no point in just buying stuff, spending your hard-earned money, and then you know, and not ultimately using it. I know that quite a lot of us are guilty of buying products and not ultimately using it. So there we are. Now, before I put that down, Gail, it's in terms of what is the best everyday crackle medium, it very much depends on what effect you're wanting, because unfortunately every single crackle is different. So I'm going to use two different systems today, which give fine crackles. One is the one component crackle medium, and the other is the cracking paint system. If you want chunky crackles and and a white base, then I use the 3D cracking base. And if you want metallic crackles, then I use the metallic cracking paste. So it depends very much on the look that you are wanting. And Pentacolor, of course, have lots of different versions. So I like the transparent, I like the fine line crackle when I'm doing things that I want to have an aged appearance of. So I guess it depends completely on where you're going and what you want to achieve and the look that you want to achieve. But my go-tos would be the one component crackle medium, which is easy to use and allows you complete control of the colours that you get. And if I want thicker crackles, I may use the 3D cracking media paste and the metallic ones. So yeah, it depends really what you're looking for. I hope that makes sense. I've done demos for lots of them, and if there's one that you would like me to demo, I'm sure I will be doing another live in January. So if you message me and let me know which of the mediums that you'd like me to maybe use on a project, then that is equally cool, and I'll see if I can do a live with them for you I might do a morning live on my own page to see, and go through several of the different crackle mediums and line them all up one against each other. So, as I say, I've got two different cracking systems here. We've made a mess of that already, but hey ho. So this is the one component crackle medium, and it's a PCP process. So I've got a paint layer underneath. I'm then going to add this. For the rest of this, I will decorate the front and the sides, but I won't do the back during the course of the live, because it will short circuit things, and then I can go in and finish that long term, because I will only be repeating the process. So as I say, this is the one component crackle medium. And it's a PCP product. So you paint it up, have a paint layer underneath, you pop this on. You don't need a thick, gunky layer. Hello, Anthony. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm hoping it is ultimately quite festive. That's the plan. I've got a plan. It's going to be more winter than Christmas. But I've also got a plan for a live in another group on a similar theme, but again using different products. So there we are. And because I'm disturbing some of that paint underneath, and that's because I've not let it's surface dry rather than actually being dry all the way through. And of course, generally you are better off waiting and making sure some things are very good. Well, Anthony, I don't very often resort to the concept of of Christmas attire, it has to be said, partly because it doesn't seem like a good use of pennies, but I was at a local supermarket. My healthy behaving in terms of eating and activities has paid off, and it was there, and I thought, well, why not for now? We'll have that. And it was several sizes smaller than the clothes that I have been wearing, so I reckon that's called a result, to be able to go and buy something 2 or 3 sizes smaller than you were in. So I felt that a little treat to myself was sensible and completely justified. So that is the one component crackle going onto there, and I am going to give that a little bit of a helping hand, I think, in terms of drying, because I haven't got, I might be able to, let's pop it there. If I put that there, we might be able to get the other system. So if I pop that there and that there, put that into there, and then, so the second crackle I'm going to use this evening is the cracking paint system. And that has its own primer, which is completely different to the others. So let me just open this, and it's a milky liquid, and we're just going to add it onto the base. I will get to the areas that I can get to without handling it too much, I think, is the honest answer, because I'd quite like to do the top, and I shall of here with this. So that's, again, you don't need a thick layer. I will do the back off camera later on. There we are. So we can do, and I can do the bottom off camera later on, and I'm going to need that to let this dry. So this one is the, as I say, it is the cracking paint system, and there are limited color choices. They're very pretty color choices. They're definitely matte and chalky colors, which is lovely. So whereas the other one, you can use the Decor chalkies to get the color effect, or you can use it with ordinary acrylics. This system has lots of beautiful soft colors, and always a chalky effect finish. So let me just pop these over here, even this up a little bit, take some of the excess off, park it back in. Ooh, perhaps I won't put it back in the pot. We'll wipe it off into here, because we definitely don't need quite so much of that, and it will take forever to dry if I leave it that thick. There we are. That will do. And as I say, we'll do the back later on. So it's very confusing, and I can sympathise with you with it in terms of the timing. So 7 o'clock in Hungary, which is of course where Pentat are based, is 6 p.m. in the UK. So if you saw posts on the Pentat page, it absolutely will have said 7 p.m. because that's what it is in Hungary. But in the UK, I always go live. UK time is at 6 o'clock, and I do try and make sure I've said that on my own page when I'm posting. So let me just lift that quietly over there, out of the way, give it a little bit of a chance to start to dry on its own. And then we've got, this is definitely a paint inspired activity. So, and let's hope I haven't lost any of these pieces. So these are all resin pieces cast with a quick setting resin, and I have again coated them with bonding primer so that I can carry on with impunity here and add them. And I've got some ordinary chalky paints and also some antiquing paints here. So we're going to do a little bit of a mix of things because I'm wanting my snowflakes to, well, they will end up predominantly white. And that might seem a very strange thing to say when I'm clearly just about to paint them all in shades of blue. But, you know, why not? And I'm going to end up with mucky sticky fingers, I am sure, from doing this, because, well, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Because I don't think you can do things like this without handling them. Though I have to say, I have seen some artists manage to paint their resins without getting in a horrible sticky mess. That's not my not been my ability. And I'd rather carry on crafting in the way that I'm used to than adapting it for the live. So have I covered that? Yeah. So we're just going to cover these with an assortment of different colours. These are all come from one mould from Stamperia. So I haven't gone across, you know, different mould sets, because I know that projects certainly start adding up in cost when you have to work across multiple different mediums. So let's go with that, and we'll just have a little bit of a mix. Let's have another one of those with that, and then we'll swap to some of the antiquing paints. And all I've done is have a look through my stash and picked up shades of blue that I really quite liked. I have, you know, for doing this, I could have chosen to work with antiquing gels if I wanted to, but I just thought I'd try use something a little different today, so that it wasn't just everything. Hi Jeanette, thank you for joining me. That's lovely. So we're altering a cheap tree that I bought in a UK store. It had lots of Christmas words on it, very much not my style, but the shape was one that I liked the look of, and I knew that I could alter. So that's what we're doing. So I'm using some antiquing paints for these, and they allow you to lift paint off when you want to. You can set the bottom layer completely and then lift off the second layer as you add them. So, and I've picked various shades of bluey green. So this is called patina green, which is, I don't know whether it's green or whether it's a shall we say it's a soft greeny blue. I think is probably a good combination, rather than necessarily being completely green. So let's just have there we are. So we're just having a little play with these. That's the thing with when you're doing a mixed media pieces, isn't it? You know, you spend a lot of time prepping all your pieces, and then actually putting it together sometimes doesn't really take so long. And it is about question of having a think about what you're doing and how you're going to layer things up. So I think we are okay in terms of timing. Not that I'm overly stressed about that. We'll just carry on, paint all of these, and then we're going to revert to having to dry. I think it's going to have to happen at some stage, but there we are. And I might go back to another of the blues in a minute. That darker blue, I think, we might go back to. So this is another of the antiquing paints. And it is called Patina Blue. So it's a really pretty soft, soft colour. There we are. So I like it. It's really, it's a pretty minty, almost minty bluey green, rather than anything else. Oh boy, it must be freezing cold. It's certainly not very warm, Sarah, I have to say. I'm working in my conservatory, which is absolutely freezing. It was -1 here this morning. I don't know what it was where you were, but -1 when I fell out of bed this morning and checked the temperature because it felt so flipping cold. It's one of these things when I was nice and toasty under my duvet and then had to get out and thought, I think I might have preferred to have stayed in bed for the day. But hey ho. Excuse me while I carry on coughing and spluttering. Yes, ladies, I am still coughing post-COVID. It's really not. It is the gift that keeps on giving, unfortunately. There we are. And I'm going to do that other snowflake in the blue that I started out with. So excuse the mucky fingers. I'm going to lid that one for the moment. We'll lid that one. 4 degrees in Redditch. Yes. All adds to the fun of life, doesn't it? I suspect, to be fair, it's not far above that here at the moment. My loving daughter has decided to volunteer to cook tea for us this evening. So she is in the middle of making a French onion soup. I have to say, she doesn't very often volunteer to cook for us, but when she does, the food is scrummy. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, that will be a very effective way of warming up when I come out of my craft room. So there we are. Let's pop that over there, that over there, that over there. And we're going to have to go back to drying this assorted collection of stuff. Because now we've got stuff that really has, I've got no choice but to get completely dry around the place. Having said that, I could lift that because we have another layer to go on to here. I pop the tree in front of my fan heater on the floor. That might speed that up while we do the rest of these. 3 degrees in Plymouth. Yeah, it's not good, is it? They did warn us that the cold weather was going to arrive. It has to be said, they did. But yes, chilly it certainly is. So we just now need to let these dry as best as we can. Because that's, well, we just have to, because I can't move on to the next step without doing them and having them properly dried. Right. There we are. So I like using, I mean, I'm lucky I have lots of the products, but they all do slightly different things. And I think it's worth knowing how the different products work, how they can be used, and how to get the best out of the products you have. Brandy and a coffee with warmers up. Yeah, it certainly would, Gail, but I think I might then end up sort of slightly lightheaded and fuzzy. It really does. I'm very much a lightweight, I'm afraid, when it comes to alcohol, which is all very well and good, but that's what we are. We're definitely a lightweight, so there we are. And we've got another couple of layers to go with these, so before we can start adding them to stuff. There we are. So I hope everyone is okay and that their Christmas preparations are going well. Put my Christmas tree only a little bit on my bottle. It would only take a thimbleful, Gail, of brandy for me to end up feeling somewhat the worse than where I really am a lightweight when it comes to alcohol. Yeah. Still not completely dry. But, you know, I think my grandfather used to always swear by having a little bit of alcohol. He used to say that it was good for the circulation. I think the French would definitely agree with that. So they would say that having some alcohol, is good for you. So if I wasn't on a live, I would probably add another coat to these to fill in the gaps in the areas that I've missed. But I won't bother for that for here now, because I think it's okay not to, because we're layering. Now, I like to, whenever I'm antiquing things, I tend to add a protective layer to my pieces. You don't necessarily have to, but I do think it's helpful to either varnish your things or to add an extra layer to protect it. So I've just got some pouring glaze that I'm going to use and basically and paint it over these to seal that paint in place, and then it will get another dry. And the pouring glaze is a really good sealer. It's very interesting. On BBC they were talking about hot water bottles, how long you can keep them. Yeah, there's meant to be symbols on them, aren't there, that warn you when the rubber has got to the point of really not being in a safe place to use and at risk of breaking up. So Gail, when we finish, you can tell me which, because I've got two different crackles that I'm using. So if we can have a message and we'll sort out which one is the better one for you, based on what you want and the effects that you want. I like the one component crackle for this sort of activity. You see, I've missed that with the blue, but hey ho, we're not going to be too fussy. And when you're glazing, you don't really want to have masses of the pouring glaze. You just want a thin coat, because otherwise what happens is you're going to clog up all of the interest on your pieces. But I just think that actually it's helpful to seal that layer of paint in place before I carry on and add any and start rubbing at them with cloths and things. Yeah, no, it'll be fine, darling. We can sort it all out. It's important that we're happy and that you like what you're using. That's the most important thing, and that you're confident with what you're buying and how you're going to use them. As I use just about all of the different crackle mediums at the different stages for different projects so it depends on the look that you're looking for. When I first started using crackle, I used to think, nah, do I really need that one from that person or that version? Is it really going to be different? And the answer is some of them are and some of them aren't. There is definitely cross cover between brands, but there are definitely ones that where there isn't cross cover and where the effects are different. The end results are definitely different depending on on the product that you are using. So I would say that it's worth just spending a bit of time investigating the ones that are around and working out which are the ones that you like. I do know which ones will cross over and which ones don't, so you can short circuit that by asking me. I'm not opposed to spilling the beans on things, because I'm very much against people spending money when they don't have to. So you can see, although I poured out, you know, what I thought was a reasonable amount of my pouring glaze, actually I'm not really adding a huge amount of it to these pieces, and I'm going to end up binning some, but hey ho. Because I've decanted it, I've been a little extravagant. But this way, when I've got stuff that's maybe not completely dry, I'm not contaminating my main pot, and that also is quite important when you're buying products, that you don't cross-contaminate them. So did I get that one completely covered? There we are. Cool. So let us give that. These will dry quicker, I suspect, than my tree. Yeah, I just think it's really helpful, Jill, to seal things when you're antiquing, because that way the base layer stays in place, and then you add your antiquing effect over the top of it. And it makes a big difference, particularly when you're working on a plasticized surface, to actually just do that. And I know it adds another step, and it's another bit where you have to wait for it to dry, and you think, oh, does it really matter? But actually, I think it really does matter. You know, I've used the pouring glaze from Pentart, but I could have used one of their varnishes just as easily. But this acts as a good sealant, and it will dry relatively quickly. So that's a win-win in my book. Oh, well, yeah. So there we are. In fact, that's getting tacky, because I can see that it's getting tacky, because they're sticking to each other where they are tacky. But we'll just be patient. And then we've got a couple of different things that I'm going to use to antique them. I'm going to use the antiquing paint for some of them. And I've got the white and the silver antique paste. So while these are drying, this is the antique paste in silver that I'm going to use for some of them. Antique paste in white, and the white antiquing paint. And if I wanted, I could actually use the paler of the patina blue antiquing paint over the patina green, and I could use the patina green over the dark blue. So we'll have a little bit of a play and show you the different effects. I just need these to be properly dry before we start doing that. Still tacky. There we are. Cool. Thank you, Lorraine. They are very pretty shades of blue, aren't they? And we're doing a winter tree. I hope your trip from the vets, didn't cost you an arm and a leg, because I know vet bills can be extortionate, and that your pet is well or recovering from whatever was the problem with them. So let us have a little bit of a play with some of these different mediums. As I say, I've got, and I could have picked up the antiquing gels just as easily, but I opted to go with the paints, and I've and also with the paste as well. So let me just pop these, lid them in the right area. And obviously, when I'm doing this, I'm wanting these to sit in the depths of my of the project areas. So it's up to you really which colours you pick for what, but that's that's the look. So that I'm aiming for. So you think, oh, well, you've just covered that, then you've then you've sealed it. Now you're whacking white over everything. And when you're antiquing anything, it's really important that you cover everything, the whole surface that you're dealing with, because if you miss a bit, it doesn't work so well. So we'll have, that's the white antiquing paint, and we'll go with one of these with the white antiquing paint as well. So we're just mixing it up with these different products and the different mediums, just to mix it up really. And I think that we might go with, let's go with that one. So we'll add the white onto this one. There we are. And you can see I'm not being too precious about everything. And then before this is completely dried, I'm just going to take a clean baby wipe and a soft, gentle hand, and we're going to wipe back where we can. We'll have the detail of my mould will be exposed. So we're back now with the shape of, and the snowflake part of the mould there is being allowed to really shine. And you can take this back as much as you, or as little as you want. So let me just take off this one. And the antiquing paint is definitely harder to move than the antique pastes are. But you can absolutely do it, and you've got good control. So this is the white antique paste over the patina green. Oh, yeah, I think a patina, but it might be in the patina blue. So we'll just reveal, and this just allows the snowflake to pop against the white background, was my thought process. There we are. So I'll give this one a little bit of a rub over the top, and it allows my snowflake to highlight. There we are. So, right, so that's that one. Let us find a cleanish brush, because why not? Why not, indeed? And you want contrast. So let us take some of that paler blue, that bluey green, and we'll add it over some of these. And that will, again, help us define the snowflake against the bulk of the body of the mould itself. So that's that one. I think it clearly can't go on top of there because that is the same colour. So that won't give me contrast, but it will go on top of the dark blue. There we are. And I've tended always to go for paler colours over the top of things. But, you know, maybe that's me being, I don't know, just the way I do it, I guess. I don't know that there's a reason for anything else. I saw that post, and I'm so upset for her that yeah, because for our four-legged friends are such an I don't have any pets, but but I do understand that for many people they are as important to them as their children, particularly as you get older, or if you haven't got children. They just allow you to which one did I paint? That one, I think. Yeah. Did I paint that one? No, I didn't paint that one. There we are. Helps if you pick the right one up, doesn't it? So for me, this technique is allowing me to show off them. Take up an arm, legs and vaccine allergy out. Yeah, it sure will have cost a small fortune. I don't know how the vets managed to get away with it, but hey ho, they certainly do. So let us take some of the silver paste. Now this is a solvent-based paste. She says, looking for her brushes that are solvent-based, so that she doesn't cream cracker a new one. So this is, as I say, a solvent-based paste. And this is the silver one. And I'm not using it. It looks the same as a wax, but I'm not using it as a wax. I'm using it as an antiquing paste, and it's going to add a metallic feel to my piece. And the advantage of this, if this was wax, it would set solidly onto here. But because this is a antiquing paste rather than a wax that sits on the surface, I'm able to wipe it off and leave the colour on the top, but leave the paste in the background. So that's one of the reasons why why it's very different to a set of just ordinary waxes, and the end result is different to a wax, because wax sits on the surface and the antiquing paste sit in all the crevices ultimately, rather than on the surfaces. So there we are. Okay. There we are. So I can see that as I lift this up, I'm returning all the detail of my snowflake to my piece. And then we'll see, and then we'll add some white to some of the others. I think we might add some more silver to one of the others. And you can layer these. There's nothing that says I can't add some of these to the others. There's nothing that says I can't add some proper wax on top of some of the others either. But it's about what you're wanting to do. I'm wanting a wintry feel, and my pouring glaze is allowing me to really scribble this in quite hard without being fair. I don't know that Dawn will have got a heating sorted out today. I'm afraid. I think she's I know she was waiting for them, but I think if she's going to be landlord dependent probably on replacing the boiler, and that might not be quite so easy. I know she wasn't feeling particularly great today. So we've got some bits and pieces here that still need a little bit of altering. So let's just plod on, and I'm going to swap to the white antique paste in a minute. Oops, she says, dropping the smallest piece. Which I don't really want to lose. You can guarantee this will be the bit I lose. As I say, these all came out of one mould. So I'm going to lid some of these paste so they don't get too thick, and because these are water-based, the antiquing paints, and it's not good to leave them exposed. And then we'll add white antiquing paste to the remaining ones. So there we are. So this is my white antique paste, and it's probably not going to, in all fairness, look whole lot different to the white on the other pieces, but it's important that we use things differently. The room in here must be warming up, because there we are, because the antique paste is quite soft at the moment. She certainly was, there's no question about it, but very, very lucky. And gas leaks are bad news, aren't they? That's for certain. There we are. Let's just pop that onto there. And that's going. So I have a pot of turpentine next to me. So when I'm using the antique paste, which are solvent based, I'm popping my brush from those into that, and I'll never use them for anything other than from using a wax based product. Yeah, so we now have our embellishments created. So that's that. And let us endeavour to see, and we'll revert to the tree. Now then, some parts of this are ready and some parts are not. So let's just give this a waft and get the bits that haven't quite dried. And then we're going to add the second layers, and you'll be able to see the difference, Gail, between the one-step crackle and the cracking paint system in a minute. So let's just put some of these out of the way, out of harm's way. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to put my glue gun on. During a live, I will use a glue gun. But actually, when I'm making for myself, then I would, rather than, in real time, then I would nearly always just use a gel medium and just give it time to settle down. So let me just be patient. I've got my loving daughter and my loving husband who've decided to come and watch me. That's very unusual. They normally leave me to my crafting on my own, and they never bother to watch what I'm doing. But there you are. That's interesting. No doubt that will make me feel very nervous. Let's see if I'm prepared to make a comment. Thanks, Lorraine. Yeah. My daughter can draw beautifully, but it's very difficult to give her a compliment because she then doesn't do that. Probably just out of curiosity. I think possibly because they've got nothing better to do and they're waiting for French onion soup to finish off cooking. I suspect it's much more likely to be what's going on. Right, I am going to move that over there and leave that on that bit to dry. So the base of this was the part that I painted with the Cardinal Red Decor Paint Chalky, then applied the cracking paint system 1, and that was white. So let's just pop that onto here, leave that drying. And so now I'm going to add the cracking paint system 2 to this, and this is quite thick, possibly because I have my pot open for a while. So this is a paint system, so it's designed to be painted on, and literally I'm just going to paint it on. And again, like most crackle mediums, you don't want to overwork this. You could apply it with a sponge, I guess, but because it's a paint, I tend to, and I want uneven crackles, I tend to just use a paintbrush for this. I want to know when to put your in your toast. There you are. So she's watching only because she can then sort out when she's putting the finishing touches to my French onion soup. Well, it's nice to know that she cares so much, isn't it? So that's I pop that on here, and I should just literally take a heat gun to this to let it dry, and it will crack as it does so. She says it will. I've never known it fail to crack, so there you go. There's always a first time for everything in this life. It is beginning to crack. There we are. Patience is a virtue. So we just need to wait for it to crack properly. And she says, oh yeah, this side is definitely cracking beautifully. It's a very, yeah, this one's giving me a very fine, irregular crackle. Because I haven't got particularly thick there. I think it's going to, it'll be show up better on photographs long term, I think, probably. So there we are. Let's leave that there. So the effects that you get, as I say, will be different depending on A, how thick you put it on, and B, what you have to do. Yeah, she says, putting a finger in the paint that she's just painted. That's, oh, and now hitting the camera. That's really unhelpful, isn't it? Sorry, ladies, because that will make you feel distinctly seasick. So there we are. Don't worry, Jeanette. Don't worry. It'll be there for when you want to watch it. That's for sure. Let's get this sorted out. There we are. That one can go into there. So that's giving me a very fine crackle. And I just, again, now I need to get this dry before I can do the top bit. There we are. To be fair, actually, I could sit that there, pop that there. If I leave that to dry, blowing at that, that will work. Possibly. There we are. So if we turn that round like that. So this is the paint that I painted with the one component crackle. And my preference with the one component crackle is to use a dauber when I'm putting my next steps over it. And I have chosen to work with patina green and also country green for this. And I'm just going to give the country green a little bit of a stir because it's separated a bit because I haven't used this pot for a while. So there we are. We'll give that and we will pick up two palette knives. It won't melt the crackle at all, Lorraine. It's not going to damage that. So there we are. Let's just pop some of that onto there. As I say, my preference for working with the one component crackle is definitely to add it, pounce it on. Like that. And I'm deliberately choosing two different colours here. So, and then I don't want to overwork them, but I'm happy for them to mix a little bit. There we are. We're going to do that. And this one I can see cracking in front of my eyes. And it's a very, very different effect. This is almost crazed rather than than the other one, which is more breaks like weathered wood might be. So it depends completely on ultimately the effect that you're wanting. Now, real life, I would do both sides at the same sort of time, and I would do the sides of my pieces as well. But I am conscious that we are now just gone 7 o'clock, and I don't want to keep you here all evening watching me paint. So I will use up the paint that I've already got out because that's a waste not to. There we are. There we are. So this one, you can see just how effective this one component crackle is. And that's why I really love it. It just gives me such a beautiful, almost instantaneous effect. It does need a bit more time to dry. And things, and it's best not to go back over it while it's at any stage, and that's fine. So that's, whilst having got that on, let me just add the brown to the base while this lot is drying. I think I might have upset that crackle by force drying it earlier on. So let's just take the brown. Don't really want such quite thick lumps, and I know I didn't put the crackle on the back of this base, did I? I just popped it on the front of it. So let's just add that onto there whilst the going is good. There we are. So I can see that the brown has crackled, but it's not, I think it's not going to be so obvious to the camera because it's quite subtle. And that's, that's fine. That's what I wanted. I didn't want it all to be the same. So, yes. So, Gail, that is the one component crackle. And it just works. You can see it working in front of you. And for me, it's very, very, very effective. Yes, Lorraine, it is the one component crackle, and it is really, really very, very effective. I love it. It has to be said. I've got a blob here that is needing to dry before I can move on. And it's a stable surface once it's cracked and properly dry. But it just needs to sit and dry. But it is, and for me personally, I think that we're better off with a dark surface color underneath, and then the paler ones on top. But the reality of life is there aren't any rules. You choose the color that you want underneath, and it works from there. And let's see if we can get that to crackle better or dry on the top of there. So I sort of know where I'm heading with some of this little lot. So I want a star on the top, she said. Let's move this to where we want it to be. And I think that's too near that colour. So let's move this into shot, hopefully. So I'm going to pop a snowflake up there. And we've got ones that are fairly close. So we'll pop some of these lurking around. And let's have a little play. I know why. That's because I wanted that one for down. I want that down there. And I want that down there. And we'll pop that there. And then we've got... you see, we've got lots of these now to fit in around wherever we want to pop them. So I think that will work up nicely up there. That will work nicely up there. We've got all the silver over there. So let's just move that about a bit. That can go there. And that can go there. And do we want that? Or do we want that? So I think we have a tree that is reasonably well decorated. And hot glue gun to the floor is what's required. And some glue sticks. Oh, I might. I don't know. See, we're messing. We're messing. So we're going to now just add some hot glue to our ornaments. That can sit there. Give that a little squash. Let's say I would almost certainly tend to use. You need it all. Yeah, I think needing it all is something that I'm afraid we're all sort of guilty of, aren't we? Needing it all. The problem is that there are so many different things to tempt us that it's actually very difficult to say no to things. There we are. So let's just pop that so it's there. And I'm deliberately crossing these bridges, and I will paint the backs of these ultimately from behind. It might be a little bit of a challenge, but who's not, you know, why make life easy for yourself? Use invisible ink. There we are. That's vaguely upright. Have you left your heater? Yes, I have left my heat tool on, Sarah, because the top of the tree needed to crackle. And so I will ultimately add. She says, "Haven't got glue where I don't need it." I will do the back of my, and I've got a flipping gilding flake into that. So there we are. That can go there. That can go there. Sneaky. There we are. So that can go there. Let's pop this onto here. So let's pop that centralised into there. Let me see where what I want, or whether I want. Yeah, why not? Pop that one there. Pop that one there. So at this point, we're going to have a little clear up of mess, because mess we have. And we're going to see if that top of that paste has dried. It has and it hasn't, so we're going to leave that. And now at this point, it's entirely up to you what you continue to do. So we could add some snow paste if we want to, or we can add some snow ice crystal or snow crystal. So I'm just going to add some touches ad hoc glittery bits, because this is about the only time of the year you'll see me using glitter. And I might need a brush to put that where I want it. So let me just grab one. You have to see. Is that Antonis's film strip piece? So this is a paste, so it'll give me some layers, but it's also got an icy effect in it. So that's going to help just lift this whole piece. Give me some fill in some of these areas, and will give me, and this will dry clear, ladies, so but with the sparkle. So that's what I'm aiming for with this, is the sparkle. It won't and I can take it up onto my piece. Let's take it off the words. There we are. So we'll just add some areas of my paste onto things, and it's just going to give me some subtle. I know it looks like I'm using a lot, but actually by the time it dries and it's clear, I will have the sparkle, but I'm not going to have the the white areas that are here. So okay, So just said stick them on your list. And yes, I want it in a giveaway. I'm itching to start it. Yeah. Well, it's always good, isn't it? Yeah. I have a friend who goes away. You know, I quite often go away with her to crafty retreats, and she will she will say to her husband when she comes back, "Oh, I've been very lucky this weekend. I've won it, and I won lots of stuff in the raffle." I've no idea whether he actually believes her or not, but if it suits, if that's what keeps the world going round, why not? So let me just pop this into here, move this around. You can see we're going to have lots of sparkly winter iciness to this by the time it's all dried. And if you want a bit more, you just then add some glitter to it. Hey ho, why not? So there we are. We add some bits to these, and we're going to give it a little splattering of glitter in a minute anyway, because it's about the only time of the year that you'll ever see me with the glitter out. There we are. So I think I've got enough of my ice crystal lurking on there. No, Anthony, you don't have a husband. That might be true, but you do have a wife and you do have children. And I'm sure they're both capable of asking you where things have come from. But I guess you now have a legitimate excuse, don't you? So I'm just going to grab some of my eco glitters. This is the silver one, and I've got the ultra fine here. So we're just going to add some little bits to add to the sparkle. Let it sit where it's going to sit. It'll stick on the gel in the snow paste, in the ice crystal, and add to that sparkle without being too over the top. And it is a fine dusting. I'm not sort of really going overboard with this. And then we'll add it over there, and we'll see what it looks like in the morning. So I shall just now turn that over, tap off the excess, leave that there. So I now have a sparkly winter tree, and I will continue tomorrow, decorate the back or crackle the back and add some more bits of the ice crystal when that front is dry. So I'm glad you like it. I hope that you've answered lots of questions. Gail, I definitely would suggest that the colour that the crackle medium that would be my go-to would be the one component crackle. For those of that you didn't see at the front, this is the same base, but you can see just how different they are decorated with the different mediums. So this was crackle paint and this was crackle paint. So this you can see how well it crackles. It hasn't done so well on the brown. That might be my choice of background, and it may just be that I rushed the full drying of it. And this one has been entirely distressed with antique paste, and I've used the umbre and the gold and the white and a copper. So lots of different mediums on here, but you can see with the same concept but different products that you get a very different result. And for those of you that are aware that I have, this is how they started out. I have a plan for this, and that will be on a live in Crafting Together with All Brands on Sunday. And again, using things that are different but a similar sort of concept, and then you can pick and choose which you want to do. So that is all for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you all a safe evening, and that you have a good Christmas season if we don't catch up on a live or anywhere else between now and Christmas. And if you I will let this dry, finish the back of it, and I will post pictures of both of the trees on Pentart's page, and when it's all dry and when I've done the back of them. Gail, if you want help sourcing the Pentart goodies, if you message me at some point, possibly tomorrow, I will respond to those messages and I can point you in helpful directions. Thank you, Jill. Thank you. I will enjoy my tea that Jenny has cooked, and thank you for telling her how to do a good French onion soup, because I gather I have you to thank for introducing her to them. Thank you, Blanche, for your lovely comments. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, have a good Christmas and stay safe. Bye.